We begin this hour in the Middle East, where Israeli forces have shot dead Al-Jazeera's veteran journalist Shireen Abu Akleh in the occupied West Bank, and that's according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. Abu Akleh, a TV correspondent for Al-Jazeera Arabic, was shot in the head on Wednesday while covering Israeli raids in the city of Jenin in the northern occupied West Bank. She was rushed to a hospital in critical condition, where she was declared dead shortly after at 7:15 a.m., according to the ministry and Al Jazeera journalist. The 51-year-old was wearing a press vest and was standing with other journalists when she was killed. Another Palestinian journalist, Ali al-Saboudi, was also wounded by a bullet in the back. Meanwhile, Israel's prime minister said it is likely they were shot by Palestinian gunmen during an exchange of fire. It comes amid a surge in violence between Israel and the Palestinians. As the Palestinian president said, he held the Israeli government fully responsible for what he described as a crime of execution. And Mona Kandil, a Palestinian Territories journalist who is speaking the footprints, joins me now via Skype. She joins me from Palestine. Good to have you join us. There is not. This is quite. All right, Bona, it is a really sad development, especially because this is a journalist. We understand that this war or conflict has led to the deaths of a lot of people. But the circumstances surrounding her death is also quite vague. There is now a blame game between Israeli military and Palestinian authorities. What do you know about the circumstances surrounding her death?
Well, we have to mention that despite the protection that not only Palestinian journalists, but all journalists around the world must enjoy under the international law, however, Israeli occupation forces continue to commit grave violations, including threats to personal safety, attack on equipment, physical and emotional assault, restrictions on freedom of movement, and today, unfortunately, shooting a Palestinian journalist and killing her. It's according to Palestinian journalists and the Palestinian Authority and human rights organizations as well here in the occupied territories. Because what happened, according to witnesses and to other journalists who were with Shireen Abu Akleh, they arrived, a number of Palestinian journalists, to the refugee camp of Jenin, northern the occupied West Bank. The Israeli forces, those Palestinian journalists, all of them, of course, you have to mention, all of them, they were wearing the journalist vest. It's written clearly press. All of them put the helmet, and there were no Palestinian or activists around them. There were even no civilians around them. So that's why Palestinians are saying it's assassination. First, this Palestinian journalist, Moody, was so that Israeli forces were shooting towards them. He immediately shouted on the other journalists to leave. He turned it back. However, one Israeli sniper in the back. That according to him, Shireen, this Palestinian martyr, clearly shouted that Ali was shot.
All right, Mona, you were telling us earlier about the circumstances surrounding the death of Shireen and what you know. But it does seem like you were saying that, look, this is not a one-off, that journalists, Palestinian journalists are usually targeted. Tell us more about that.
Well, yes, Palestinian journalists continue to face different forms of aggression and brutality by the Israeli forces. First of all, we have to speak that Palestinian journalists do not get the freedom of movement. Maybe if it's another country, they should receive all facilities in order to cover what's going on and the event. But we Palestinians, when we arrive at the numerous military checkpoints that separate the West Bank areas Many of the times, Palestinian journalists are not allowed to enter these cities, towns, and refugee camps to cover the Israeli aggression. We have to mention that the Israeli forces intend to prevent Palestinian media from doing their work in order not to expose their crimes and their assaults that are being carried out against the Palestinians. This is exactly what happened today. Experts are saying, and other journalists, of course, are saying that it's a clear message from the Israeli military that Palestinian journalists might not get all the freedom of movement, and they do not have the right to expose the Israeli crimes. And in case the Israeli military decides that this city or another is closed, and if they do not obey the Israeli occupation forces order, simply they could be shot, being wounded, or killed, like what happened with this Palestinian reporter this morning.
We know that a ceasefire was brokered in May last year between the Palestinian forces and Palestinian authorities and Israeli authorities as well. But what has led to the latest escalations between both sides?
Well, we have to make it a little bit clear that Israeli forces raid the Palestinian Authority areas, cities, villages, and refugee camps on a daily basis. These areas that are supposed to be part of the future Palestinian state. However, Israeli forces continue to raid these areas, claiming that they are looking for Palestinians who took part in let's say, peaceful demonstrations and protests, or even they expressed their rejection of the Israeli occupation and for their posts on social media. During these arrests, of course, Palestinians would be leaving their homes in order to prevent the Israeli forces from raiding the villages. Then clashes or fighting, let's say, took place. How is it when we speak about fighting? It's Palestinians, unarmed Palestinians, throwing stones at the fully armed Israeli soldiers. Of course, we are not speaking about two powerful forces. No, Palestinians throwing stones at Israeli fully armed forces. But what happened this morning is that Israeli soldiers raided the refugee camp of Jenin in order to destroy a Palestinian home, this home that was owned by a Palestinian prisoner or a Palestinian martyr. As usual, the people of this refugee camp took to the streets in order to prevent the incursion to the refugee camp of Jenin. But as usual, the Israeli forces, with their armored vehicles and jeeps, they raid the areas and they fire at the peaceful and non-armed Palestinians.
The UN has made a call for journalists in Mexico to be protected. We hope that the same call will be made for journalists in that region as a whole to be protected. Thank you so much for talking to us, Mona Kandil.